Hello everyone, Bible believers around the world. So this is just a channel update video about some new Bible study content coming to the channel soon, and also some potential reboots of old Bible study series that I've done in the past that I would like to remake sometime in the future. So the China series is still underway. We are discovering the Hamitic origins of the Chinese, and in the process we are destroying the One West Camp doctrine that says that the Chinese are Moabites. So episode 2 has still yet to come out of that series. I will get working on it sometime in the future. I have actually been doing different things because I was requested by a friend of the channel to make a mini series about the teaching that the seed goes through the woman, meaning that if your mom is not an Israelite, that means you're not an Israelite, and that so-called interracial marriage is a sin. So I diverted from the China series to do that because, we had, a fellow, brother in the truth who was going through some issues. And, I know what it feels like, years ago dealing with the One West camps and how much that can hurt your faith and how traumatizing it can be. So I felt like it was more important to help the brother out than to post a China video. So I, diverted. I took the exit off the highway and went over there to do that. Episode 2 of that should be coming out on the Shabbat or later today. So hope that series has answered your questions. If you have any more questions, feel free to comment on any one of my videos about that. Hope it helped. Now, other stuff. The JFF series is still going on, so I know it don't seem like it because I haven't posted an episode in over a month, but I've just been bouncing around different Bible topics. I haven't been 100% on JFF because there's other things to cover. I definitely plan to do a reboot of the JFF series sometime in the future because the JFF series has not been up to the quality standard that I wanted. Because when I was making the Unmasking the Edomite series, I was very much on topic and had smooth transitions into the different topics and subjects throughout the different episodes. But with the JFF series, I've just been bouncing all over the place. First I was talking about the barbarians, and I was talking about JFF's names, what JFF's name means in Hebrew, and how it matches the Caucasian to a T. And then I bounced over to, the Indians and the JFetic connection there. And then I was talking about the enlargement, and, in the next episode, I'm talking about the enlargement. I'm continuing on the subject of JFF's enlargement, but now I'm moving on from his enlargement in the country of India to now what he has done in the Middle East, and how a lot of these so-called Arab Middle Eastern peoples, a lot of them are JFF replacements of the original Shemite and Hamitic peoples who were there. So I've just been all over the place, and I would like to redo it with some, more order. But I'll continue on for the time being. I don't have a date on when I will reboot it and, start over. So there's that. Other things, there's the Amalek series. I don't have a date on that because I've said it so many times before. I'm now past 150 videos on the channel, and probably 60 of them are about Esau. So I'm not rushing to do the Amalek thing. And also, the truth is, Amalek is just another tribe of the Edomites. So Amalek is to Esau what, Judah is to Israel. Esau is black. We've discovered all that. So as a result, Amalek is black. We automatically know that. Just like we know, the so-called Negroes are the true Israelites. So if we know Joseph is black, we don't need to go and prove that Judah is black because we already know that. So there's really no rush to do that because we already have the ancient depictions and the DNA and the maps, the whole 9 yards, the scriptures that talk about Negroid Esau. So Amalek wouldn't be no different. So there's really no reason to rush into that right now. Now I'm going to talk about something very difficult, and something that I said this before months ago that I didn't really think was as important. I didn't think it was as bad as it was. So this was years ago, before this channel was created. I think that I came across this around the time, I first discovered, Sons and Daughters of the Covenant of Yah's channel. And it was a Japhethite woman who commented on somebody else's video. Like I said, my channel wasn't even a thing yet. This was like 2020, the summer of 2023. And she was talking about how afraid she was because she said her friend, who is an Israelite, if I remember correctly, told her that she is a Nephilim Edomite. And I was confused at that because I'm like, a Nephilim Edomite? So she's an Edomite and not human? Like what? So I didn't really think much of it, and I never really went to cover it in much detail. I did, The Caucasian's Not a Product of the Fallen Seed, but that series has become very dated, and I feel like I can do a better presentation and got more information to put together, so I think a reboot might be necessary of that. But that comment that woman made kind of left my mind. I didn't really think about it for years. But I've started coming across Israelite YouTubers who actually teach that white people aren't human and as a result can't have salvation. What they teach is that Japheth was Negro and went into the Caucasus Mountains, and when he came out, he was Caucasian. And they say that he mixed with the Neanderthals, who they teach are the Nephilim, and that's why they look the way that they look. It's demon blood. And they say that their hair comes from demons. They say that their skin is a result of demons. Some even say that, diversity was created by Satan. That it was never the Most High Yah's intention, really, to have people look different. That, all these different features, the way the Filipinos look, the way the Chinese look, the way the Indians look, the way the Europeans look, some of these Arabs look, that they look like that because of the devil. And I didn't realize how much of a stumbling block that is, and how we've reached a point in histories. We've reached a point in history, brothers and sisters, where the roles have been reversed, where black people, us Israelites, we had it rough during Jim Crow because there was so much scientific racism of whites trying to, make us question our origin and tell us, that we just came out of the ground and we were monkeys and we're not human and we're, we got demon blood inside of us and all this other type of stuff. But as, the 20th century went on and evolution started to become popular and the Nation of Islam became a thing in the 1930s, now the role has reversed, where now we have Israelites who are scaring white people with stories that they're not human and that they have demon blood and that their origin is some evil, wicked conspiracy. And most of this stems from the Nation of Islam, and people have brought it people have twisted it to become some type of Bible thing. And, a lot of Japhethites, rightfully so, are terrified of this. Just like us, our ancestors were, during Jim Crow. And it's something I'm definitely going to have to talk about. Because for one thing, the people who teach this, they get the understanding that the Neanderthals weren't human from scientists. Because scientists call them primates because they're trying to prove evolution. But I've already posted on the channel before that these artifacts of these monkey-looking men from the Caucasus Mountains and stuff have been modified to fit a narrative. Another thing I would like to say is the scripture tells us, what the Nephilim look like. And these people like to key in on the book of Enoch. When Noah was born with white skin. And it says that his father Methuselah thought that he was one of the children of the angels. So they say, see, white skin is of the devil. And then they key in on the white skin. But there's something I want to say, though. The white skin, or light skin, was not the be-all, end-all of what makes you Nephilim. We already know that Noah had white skin and he was pure and human. We also know there was other people who were lepers or albinos in the scriptures who were 100% human, and the Israelites did not treat them as less than human because of their pale complexion. Furthermore, like I said, light skin was never the be-all, end-all of the Nephilim. Because the book of Samuel tells us that the Nephilim had 6 fingers and six toes. We know that they were giants. There's been reports of them having 2 rows of teeth, of them having horns. And I mentioned in the Caucasian is Not a Product of the Fallen Seed series that every feature that we consider associated with so-called white people can be found in black people. So these people talk about, the black man is the closest to Adam and Eve because Adam and Eve were people of color. But what they don't realize is that black people are the only people who can have these mutations to make these so-called different races. It doesn't go the other way around. Blue eyes, green eyes, straight hair, Asian style eyes, all of these have been found in peoples in Africa with different mutations. The Aborigines, who are like as Negro as it gets, some of them have curly blonde hair. So the black man and the black woman is really the blueprints of all of Earth. And to say that people who look different are hellbound and that they're created by Satan is a really terrible thing. And a lot of people, Israelites, say this with pride. And it's something that I'm definitely going to have to deal with because I've ignored it for so long because I figured that, these people were just scared over nothing, basically. But I didn't realize how bad it was. Anyways, I'm curious to hear what you have to say down below. And another thing I like to say about the Neanderthals is the Neanderthals were shorter than modern humans. They weren't giants. They were midgets. As a matter of fact, the tallest Neanderthal ever recorded was 5'10". Meanwhile, we have found remains of giants who are like 7 or 8 feet tall, but those that don't get mentioned. And before I close this video, I'll just have to say one thing. Not all Nephilim are so-called fair-skinned, because I've actually been researching African legends about Nephilim in Africa who were black, dark-skinned. So you don't have to be white to be a demon. Not every Nephilim was fair-skinned. All right? So that's something that doesn't get talked about. But anyways, take care.